Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name's Lizzie and today I have a video for you all about my 2021 sewing resolutions. Now some of these are about specific projects that I want to make and some of them are more to do with my general attitudes towards my dressmaking. So I'm going to run you through my list that I've written up in my bullet journal. It's kind of a bit of a brain dump of just things that have come into my mind as I was making this list. So I'm going to take you through it. Oh, and just to let you know, this is very much not a list that I have to complete. This is a guide, this is for fun. I definitely won't be beating myself up if I don't kind of achieve all of these things on this list. My first resolution is to make the Lander pants. I went to a trouser fitting class at the end of last year while that was allowed with regards to coronavirus and everything, and I've got my toile, I've got my, adjusted pattern from this class. I just need to find the fabric and make them. I've been so excited to make the True Bias Lander pants for a really long time, so 2021 I'm hoping is going to be the year. These next ones are to do with some of the gifts that I received for Christmas this year from my lovely friends and family, so watch my previous video on what I got for Christmas 2020 if you want to know more about these things, more about the details. But the first one is that I want to make the Geordie bralette kit by Emerald Erin. I'm really hoping that this will be my gateway into lingerie and underwear sewing. The next one on the list is to complete the embroidery kit that I received for Christmas. And I also want to knit the orchid sweater, which is the kit that I received from We Are Knitters. I'm really hoping that knitting is going to become a new big hobby for me, but we'll see. This is my first project. The next thing on my list is I want to finish making the Chloe coat by Sew Over It. Now, I think it might have been 2018 that I started making this, which is kind of really bad, but this is the only sewing project I've ever just completely abandoned. I always finish my projects, so I think it's okay, I can let myself off. But I started making this using the Sew Over It online course. They've got an online class to make the Chloe coat, and I kind of didn't get on with the class very well. I didn't find it very easy to follow, and I made a mistake and it's going to be really hard to unpick, so I kind of just got really disheartened and overwhelmed and abandoned it. But this year I want to revisit it and finish it. The fabric is too nice to go to waste, so by winter 2021, maybe I'll have my first handmade coat finished. I would like to make the fennel fanny pack. This has been on my list of things I want to make for ages because this summer, as I think we all did in 2020, I got very into going for walks. I go for a morning walk pretty much every day now as my kind of daily exercise, and in the summer in particular it was really tricky to know what to do with my phone and my keys because we had a huge heat wave. I was just going out for a walk in shorts and a t-shirt and I didn't have anywhere to put my keys and my phone. The fennel fanny pack is going to be perfect. The only hurdle I have is finding where to buy the hardware from. You need some buckle thingies, I think, and you need a couple of zips, and I'm just really fussy. I've got some navy blue fabric left over from another project that will be perfect for this, and what I want is my two zips to be navy blue with gold teeth, metal teeth. And I haven't been able to find where to get them in the right lengths and styles, so I think I'm going to have to learn how to shorten a metal zip, which scares me a bit, but according to the internet it's possible, so that'll have to be a new skill I will learn to make my fennel fanny pack. My next resolution is linked to my fabric stash. Now I have what I think of, although it's all relative, as quite a small stash. It's one drawer in my living room and it's all lined up nicely. I live in a one-bedroom flat in London. I don't have the luxury of loads of space, so I have to keep it small. I do also have a cheeky couple of extra boxes in the top of my wardrobe. They're quite small boxes, but these are kind of fabric leftovers. So I've made a project in this fabric and I've got enough left to make another project. But they go up there. I did have a really good clear out of those last year and got rid of a lot that I knew I wasn't going to use. I gave them to a charity that does sewing classes in London for vulnerable women, so I will leave a link to that in the description below if it's of interest to any of you to get rid of your fabric scraps. So yeah, those are my two fabric stashes, my kind of new fabric stash and my leftover fabric stash. They are not allowed to get any bigger, which means I need to sew as often as I buy fabric. Ideally I need to sew more often than I buy fabric, because I would even love it for my stash to shrink a little. That would actually be great. Yeah, I just find it overwhelming to have a really big stash. I like to, and also I don't like to let that excitement of a new piece of fabric kind of wither away. Like I find that if I've had a piece of fabric in my stash for several months, it's just not quite as new and exciting and as shiny as when I first got it. So I do prefer to buy fabric and sew with it pretty much straight away. My next resolution is one that I did not achieve from last year, so I'm carrying it forward, and that is to learn to darn some holes in the arms of a knitted jumper that I have. It's a ready-to-wear jumper from, I think it was originally from M&S, but it's got two great big holes in the elbows, and I need to learn to repair it, so I'll be going on some YouTube tutorials, I think, to learn to do that. This resolution is another one related to a specific sewing project, and it is that I want to sew up my stunning floral swimsuit fabric that I got from the new craft house this year. I never had the push to get it sewn up this year because, of course, sadly all our nice holidays were cancelled. I was lucky enough to go on a couple of staycations in the UK, but they just weren't the kind of holidays where I needed a swimsuit. But with any luck, 2021 might allow us to do a bit of European travel again, and I want to be ready with my new swimsuit as soon as that time comes. So yeah, I want to get that fabric sewn up specifically. This next one is another continuation from last year, 2020, when I really focused on learning about fitting. I was lucky enough to go to 2 classes on fitting. I went to the bodice fitting masterclass with Elisa Lex from By Hand London at the new craft house, and I also went to a trouser fitting class at the Village Haberdashery. It has been so valuable to learn about fitting, and those classes were both brilliant, and it means that yeah, I've been able to slowly practice those skills I learnt, build it up, and it means I've been making toiles, I've been making fit adjustments to my pattern pieces before I sew in my final fabric, and it's just meant that the quality of, well, not necessarily the quality of the garments, but the fit of the garments that I've been making has been increasing hugely, and that's such an important thing for me. So I want to continue my journey with learning about fitting. Linked to that, it also means that I need to continue to kind of keep it slow, keep it steady, focus on taking my time with my sewing projects rather than just rushing to get them finished, because what I've learned is that I will be far more satisfied with the resulting garment if I've taken the time to get the fit as kind of good as my skills allow, rather than rushing to the finish line and then ending up with a garment that doesn't fit very well. I want to continue focusing on making maximum wear items. Again, this is something that I made quite a big deal of in 2020, and I want to continue this year. And it's that I want to make clothes that I'm going to wear. I don't want to end up with a wardrobe full of gorgeous party dresses that never get worn. Of course, that doesn't mean that I'm not still going to make some gorgeous party dresses, and of course I am still allowed to make some special occasion wear. But I want the majority of my sewing to be focused on making garments that are going to get a lot of wear. And that means thinking quite carefully about which patterns I select, which fabrics I select. It means trying to make sure that the clothes that I make are fairly versatile. So can they be layered up in the winter and worn on their own in summer? Can they be dressed up or also dressed down? And just making sure that what I'm making is not just going to languish in my wardrobe waiting for the perfect occasion to be worn that might never come. I think it's really important for us as sewists to acknowledge our role as consumers of the fashion industry. Although we make our clothes rather than buying them, although I'm sure, like me, a lot of you actually do still do a bit of the odd, you know, I don't have an exclusively handmade wardrobe. I have plenty of ready-to-wear clothes in my wardrobe too, because it's not, I don't have the time or the skills to make everything for myself. But we do contribute to fast fashion, and fast fashion is such a huge problem for the environment, and as well as just socially for, you know, particularly women garment workers are treated so terribly by the fashion industry, and we can do our bit to minimise our consumption by not just kind of mindlessly buying more and more fabric and making more and more clothes that don't get worn. I think we can do our bit too to make sure that we're cherishing our clothes, that we're really taking the time and energy to do our best to get it right and to make clothes that we're going to love wearing. Having said that, I do completely appreciate that when you're a beginner sewist, you're going to make, sorry, but to break it to you if you haven't already figured it out, but you probably won't wear a lot of your first garments just because you've got a lot to learn. I made all sorts of things in the wrong fabrics and with, you know, pairing the wrong fabric and patterns together. That's a fact of learning, so it's absolutely okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but I just think we can also do our bit to try and avoid, or not even just avoid mistakes, but go back and fix them. That's another that kind of links on quite nicely to my final resolution, which is to continue to do refashions and alterations. In 2020, I made a real point of revisiting old makes and old makes that I didn't wear very much for whatever reason, and trying to figure out why I'm not wearing them and rectifying that. And it was so satisfying to give a new lease of life to some of my early makes. A lot of my early makes didn't get much wear because they were my early makes and I had a lot to learn about what I liked to wear and what fabrics I liked to wear and what patterns would suit me. But being able to revisit some of them to give them a new lease of life has just been such a valuable experience, and I definitely want to keep doing that in 2021. So there you have it. Those are my sewing resolutions for 2021. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more of my videos. And do let me know in the comments if you are making any resolutions or goals or just vague plans for the year ahead. I'd love to hear about them. And I'll see you next time. Bye!